What up, though? One Pride. This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, a podcast where one pride goes worldwide. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening by Ryan McGlusky, which can only mean one thing. It is time for your weekly dose of college knowledge. Yes, it is the college football podcast, Bayou Bye-Bye. This is our Week 9 review. And Ryan, already we're about to hit double digits in terms of the round of games in the college football season now. We're getting invites to all-star games. Like, it doesn't seem a minute ago since college football started, and now already we're looking at the path towards the draft.
Yeah, we're already, the end is already in sight. We'll soon be getting the playoff rankings. There's already a handful of bowl teams that have already got eligibility. As you say, the Shrine Bowl is already posting out invites. We're at that stage now where it's time to look at the bigger picture. Like I say, there's a lot of teams right now that irrelevant, obscurity, just limping to the end of the seasons, with a small handful now that are just clamouring, trying to be top of the rock.
Yeah, that's it. The number of unbeaten teams is dwindling. The number of big teams whose season is already over is incredible now. We're going to talk about one in a moment. But yeah, Week 9, although not maybe as busy in some areas as others, there's a lot going on. So we are going to check that out. We've got some news to go through as well. So we'll get down into that. Let's just get all the housekeeping out of the way. Roar of the Lions UK Discord. If you want in on that, let us know. We will fire you across the link for that. Main podcast. Today is a double bill for you of Roar of the Lions UK podcast. You've got me and Ryan now, and then, of course, we're going to have our Minnesota Vikings preview show later on. So, double dose for us today. Sit back and enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe to everything. Twitch, YouTube, all that good stuff. We appreciate you all and your support. We're part of Lions Nation Unite as well, so don't forget to support them, because by supporting them, you're supporting us as well. We're monetized on YouTube, Twitch, all that good sort of stuff. So if you want to help us that way, great. If not, we just love having you all in the building chatting football. That is always our main goal with you out there. And we got the feedback forms and everything, so fill them in at will. I see Grandizer is in the building. Hope you are doing well, Grandizer. Thanks for doing all the shout outs and everything in the chat. Appreciate you. He goes, I like when Ryan is on the couch. That means we might get to see old Hank. Maybe, who knows? That is part of the...
He's just over there. You will see him probably eventually.
Yeah, I think he's
probably... The new cat. You might see the new cat that you've never seen either as well.
Oh, wow. What have we got? Is that a brand new addition to the family then, or...?
Yeah, Lorena's got a new cat called Betty.
Betty?
If you're lucky, she might be up here. You never know.
So we've got Hank and Betty in the building now. Their Grandizer is going to love that. Attila the Hun is in the building. He goes, hello, just saying hello. Be back for the Vikings, considering attending the game on Sunday to see Trey Hendrickson's first game. Hey, would that be great if Trey Hendrickson was a Lion this time come Sunday? That would be all fun and games. Well, appreciate you, Attila the Hun, and we'll see you later. Right. Let's get down into the news, which we're going to go through first before obviously doing, as we do, the Week 9 review and then the Week 10 preview. But we have a lot to discuss, and the big news to start this one off, we've had a massive head coaching firing in college football this week. You will have heard of this one by now, but one of the top programs in the country now has an opening. The LSU Tigers have fired Brian Kelly at long last after what feels like an eternity potentially of this coming. He's been fired in his 4th season as the Tigers head coach. I mean, the record doesn't look too bad on paper. He was 34-14 all together, but he went 19-10 in the SEC, and for a program of LSU stature, having a 2-1 win ratio is not acceptable. They had a really good first year, went 10-4. They went 6-2 in the SEC. They tied first in the Western Conference. They went to the SEC Championship game, but got blown out by Georgia. They have not returned to it since. He has won bowl games in 3 consecutive years, the Citrus, the ReliaQuest, and the Texas Bowls. But considering the amount of money they used to pry him away from Notre Dame to get him there, after all the Billy Pickbollock stuff he did when he first got there, trying to do the whole Cajun accent and stuff like that, it just seems like he's never really fully connected with that fan base, and there's always been a bad loss on the season which has stopped them getting into the playoffs. They have not played in the playoffs under him, which kind of just tells you everything you need to know. For a program like LSU's quality, they want to be winning national titles. To spend 4 years not with a single playoff performance whatsoever is unacceptable. They have negotiated a $20 million buyout for him, which is way less than over $50 million he was owed. There's been a lot of interfering with the Louisiana state governor, etc., who's probably helped that happen. But Rye, I mean, I guess we were talking about this potentially coming down the way, you know, especially with the game they had at the weekend, which we'll talk about later, which they lost quite handily in the end. The stadium was empty after 3 quarters. It's clear the Tigers fans have had enough of him. He's won a lot of games, but he's not won a lot of big games, and unfortunately, LSU, you've got to win big games or you're toast.
Yeah, as you say, the records aren't bad. There's been a lot of players that have gone to the draft. He's had a lot of players that are ready for the NFL. It's just that lack of real success. Like I say, not getting close to the playoffs. Like I say, going very close but falling short in SEC championship. It's just one of those where enough's enough. Like I say, the fans have turned on him. Once the tide turns down there, it's kind of, like I say, doomed. And it's too big a program to just not be like a perennial national contender. So, in the end, like you say, if you got him for half the buyout, I'd actually say they've done a pretty good job of how they've done the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, there were just too many faux pas with him, and that, you know, you've had noticeable regression from some top players like Harold Perkins, etc. They've just kind of not been able to get there with him. But, I mean, the fact is, the last 2 years now, because they're not going to make the playoffs this year, you've got an expanded 12-team playoffs. If you can't make a 12-team playoffs, let alone a 4-team playoffs, this is going to be a byproduct of some of this. Some of these bigger programs, right, who missed the 12-team playoffs, whereas they might have kept the coach in previous years with just 4 teams, because it's very hard to get into 4 teams. If you can't get 12, then you're probably going to lead to you getting canned sooner. This may not have happened without the 12-team format.
No, I think the 12-team format has really opened a can of worms for a lot of head coaches, because entry to route now is really watered down. So if you miss the big dance now, that really tells you how far off you are. And that's why I think guys like Lane Kiffin, I think, are still in trouble. If Ole Miss can't make a 12-team playoff, then, like I say, why should he get a cushy promotion to LSU or to Florida?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I don't know what's going to go on with him now, but he needs a bit of a reset. This has kind of been a disaster for them. They did not look good the other day, but interesting in terms of this is going to be a huge job opening now. Like, the LSU job is still big, and I know there's bickering behind the scenes. Like, the state governor has said the AD is going to have nothing to do with selecting the next head coach, which is crazy. And apparently the taxpayers, the Louisiana taxpayers, are going to be footing the bill for Brian Kelly's buyout as well, which seems crazy down there how it works. But this is a big opportunity for somebody now. There's been a lot of names floated around so far, but there's been one very interesting one, obviously, which pertains to us, to Detroit here, and obviously our defensive coordinator, Kelvin Shepherd. By his own words, you cut him open, he's half Lion, he's half Tiger, he's a former LSU alum, he's a rising star in the coaching game right now. And while it may seem silly that he would leave a Super Bowl caliber team whilst he's learning to be a defensive coordinator and his name is getting hot for head coaching circles in the NFL, the allure of going back to your alum in college to play for one of the biggest teams in college football, for one of the biggest jobs in college football, it probably very well won't happen, but at the same point, you can't dismiss it, because you could be a god in Louisiana if you win a natty with that program. There is a lot of allure there possibly for Kelvin to go back if they were to make that move.
Yeah, I'm more worried about losing him to LSU than to an NFL team as a head coach. I just think right now, this job probably just has a lot more pull to him. As you say, he's already got an affinity with the fan base. There'll be sideline staff and front office administrators that he knows well. He's a He's a good young man that's worked with a lot of good young players, and that's kind of the key to college coaching, is how well do you do with the young players? Like, how do they come underneath you, especially like a positional coach? I think that's probably the key to all of this, is you can't be a good college coach if you don't have good people skills. That's why I think like Bill Belichick's let himself down. I don't think he's good with the young athletes and probably the families and that, like the boosters. Like I say, he's too set in his ways. But a new breed, yeah, I fully expect Shepherd to be offered an interview. Depending on what point of the season it comes, if it came in like the Lions playoffs, which in January I expect it might do if they don't make a decision by then, he may turn it down. But if they're willing to wait till after then to really pursue him, I fully expect him to attend an interview for them and hear them out, yeah.
Yeah, could be an interesting
It'll
one
be how long they make a decision, yeah. It'll be one of those, if they want a quick hire, he won't bail on the Lions mid-season. He just would not do that.
No, I agree with you. I think the odds of it happening are not high, but I think people just saying...
I think their front office administrator goes for the big flashy name.
Yeah.
Which could be the mistake.
Yeah, it could be. Obviously, Kelly was the flashy name before at Notre Dame. His record there, and it didn't at all. So maybe you go.
LSU, they're looking at or a big time G5 coach, but I just don't think they'll do it. I just don't think they can break their mold.
So obviously, at the minute, in terms of betting odds, Kelvin Shepherd's not on there, but in terms of people who are, John Sumrall is at the top right now. He's right down the road at Tulane. He has got
links to that area, yeah.
He's right down the road at Tulane. Tulane's just down the road, or just up the road from LSU.
Louisiana, yeah.
So obviously his success at Troy, he's doing well at Tulane. He's said absolutely, undeniably that he doesn't want to leave Tulane, but of course you're going to say that during the season. He will probably want to finish off his season as well first, but then after that, I mean, the names you say fancy hires, this is where we're at. Joe Brady is second favourite, Lane Kiffin is third, James Franklin is fourth, and then you get into the outside guys, Signetti, Drinkwitz, Brent Key, Jeff Brome. So obviously the bookmakers are looking at the bigger names. Obviously Joe Brady.
Now you've got no chance because he signed that big extension.
Yeah. So you're looking at obviously Lane Kiffin, James Franklin, Joe Brady.
Was he the former offensive coordinator before he went to the Bills?
I believe he was. I think he might have ties. I think he might have ties to the program. But then obviously, for someone like Brent Key and Jeff Brome, you were talking about him last week as to why is there not a bigger program come along for these two from the ACC. So maybe they go raiding the ACC potentially. There's a lot of different directions that LSU can go.
I think Drinkwitz. I think a lot of people are underestimating him getting one of the big jobs. I think he's doing well with the Missouri team. They're in a great place right now.
Yeah, I think potentially you could look at that. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin is either staying at Ole Miss or going to Florida.
Yeah,
that's the only two destinations I see him.
Yeah, I think he's going to stay at Ole Miss for now. But if Ole Miss lose again this week, or they lose again, then maybe he'll be looking for his way out, because maybe he'll be getting pushed out the door, as you mentioned there. Ole Miss, it's just not been acceptable, his results. So
no, I think some teams are hoping he gets fired.
Yeah, so you don't have to pay the buyout for him as well. You can get him for free. So it's going to be interesting to see the little tug-of-war here. I don't expect LSU to make a hire very quickly. No teams who've fired their head coaches so far have made a hire, apart from Kent State, who hired the president of Canada or whatever he is, the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, to head coach them. But yeah, LSU.
Yeah. See, I don't know how credible the reports are, but like you say, a lot of people saying that Virginia Tech, James Franklin are talking.
I mean, what a big...
I haven't seen anyone credible, but I've seen some big Twitter accounts like allude to it. I think that I quite like the fit.
Yeah,
I think it's a good vacancy.
It is. It's a team that's been underachieving for years, and if you can bring them back to relevance, one, it's good for the ACC.
Yeah, that fan base on side, like you say, you're a god, aren't you? In Virginia?
Of course you are. You that can bring you back to the big schools again. If you can turn around Virginia Tech and get them competitive in the ACC, maybe win one, that's your route back to big teams again, if you want to do that for James Franklin. So I agree. I think that will be a great fit there. Right, he is the only head coach that was fired this week, I believe. It's a little bit on the quieter side. So we move on, and we're going to talk about something that we've not really talked about so far. I mean, given that it's happening next year, but the 2026 high school recruiting class, and people going, "Oh, why are you going to talk about that now?" But there's been some interesting movements at the top of next year's class, and there've been some interesting little and controversial tidbits that are happening with some of next year's top players that we kind of need to go through a bit. But the first thing that inspired this was obviously, as the seasons go on, ratings are updated, players are moved, and rankings are changed, people are, reclassified, different stars, etc., stuff like that. But we have a new number 1 quarterback in this class. He's the number 4 recruit in the entire country, but in a high school class which is absolutely loaded at the position, we have a new number 1, and that is Keyshawn Henderson. He is the recruiting commit for the Houston Cougars. Houston having a much better year in the Big 12, but they currently have the top ranked commit for the 2026 season, and this is on the back of him having a stupidly good season so far. Some of the other big commits coming this year, Faison Brandon and Dia Bell, have been injured this year, which means he's been able to, get a bit of a head start on some of these guys. But even so, the guy's putting up video game numbers so far. As of a couple of weeks ago, he was throwing at 80% accuracy, 2,044 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. He's got 4 rushing on the ground as well. As I say, he's 6'4", 185. Started off at high school as a wide receiver and had like a 2,000 yard season. It was crazy, but then transferred over to being a quarterback and is absolutely knocking it out the park. And we're seeing some schools we're not used to seeing at the top of next year's commit list. Some of these high 5 stars arrive, but Keyshawn Henderson looking very legitimate coming into next year. He is your new number 1. He's ahead of Jared Curtis, who's going to Georgia, Dia Bell, who's the next big thing at Texas, Faison Brandon going to Tennessee. But yeah, it looks like if Houston can keep him, that's going to be massive for their program, because obviously you lose Connor Weigman at the end of this year, I believe, to eligibility. So that's your future sorted, and you're going to become a big 12 player with him.
Yep, and I think the rise of Texas Tech, the money bringing to the Big 12, I think that helps everyone. I think it raises the profile of the conference. Like I said, they've got a crazy high school recruiting class coming up. Houston's a big program. Like I say, he's a quarterback that I like to see them make smart decisions. Like I say, look at the roster, look at who's going there now, who's there already. Are there other big high-profile quarterbacks going there you'll have to battle with? Sometimes if the answer's no, just a logical decision. If you can walk in and be the heir apparent to a kind of guy, and you're not competing, like say that Jared will be at Georgia with probably 2, 3, 4 stars that also end up there. Like saying you end up buried on the depth chart, then sometimes it's the quickest route to high-level play.
Absolutely, but big.
Like you got Ryder Lyons as well. Like say, like they're like 2027, like top rate QB at BYU. Like I say, a lot of the big names right now, like say, are not committed to your household names, which is good to see.
He's recommitted. He's a 2026 pledge now.
Like say, another 5-star QB. Like say, that's and they're going well right now. They've got a good chance of keeping them. Both teams, Houston and BYU, firmly in the playoff race.
Well, what are BYU going to do? Because they've got young Tiger Backmeyer. They've got a true frashman at the helm this year. Tiger's got...
Ryder Lyons is going to go try to compete with him. He's got 4 years of eligibility left.
Yeah, Tiger Backmeyer is going to be there at least 2 more years after this year, which means you're looking at an Arch Manning situation with Ryder Lyons. But he's the highest recruit in BYU history, I believe, the Folsom quarterback. But he's having himself a year as well. He's throwing at 75%, 1,500 yards and 14 touchdowns as a pocket passer. He's probably the best of all these guys when it comes to just flat-out pocket passing. But then, you've got Keyshawn Henderson. You've got Faison Brandon going to Tennessee. He's 5-star. Dia Bell going to Texas. He's 5-star. He'll be Arch Manning's heir apparent, but he has been knocked out for the entire season with an injury, so we'll see what happens with him. And Jared Curtis as well has had a little bit of an injury, so a very injured 2026 recruiting class for the quarterbacks has led to the rise of Keyshawn Henderson there. But in terms of the other guys up around him there's a lot of uncertainty at the top of this class now. The number one commit via ESPN, their SC Next list, there's several different ones. At number one, you've got Lamar Brown, the defensive tackle / interior offensive lineman. He's going to LSU. He's 6'5", 285 pounds, but LSU have just fired Brian Kelly. Now, apparently he's still going to go there as of now, but this is probably going to open up his recruitment again, and there are probably going to be teams all over the country wanting him, because no one knows where he's going to play just yet. But as for now, he's playing both lines in high school. Like, he's playing on the offensive line, then he's staying on the field and playing on the defensive line, which is absolutely crazy. There's been a development that's gone completely under the radar about the number 2 recruit next year, Zion Ely, the superstar edge rusher, the best in the nation. He has been the number 1 in the 26 class for some time, but he's been moved down to 2. He's 6'4", 225 pounds already, which is a decent size for him. He's only going to keep getting better. He's playing at St. Francis's Academy in Baltimore, Maryland, so he's a hometown kid. However, the situation with him at the minute, he is going to Maryland, one of their highest recruits of all time. He has closed his commitment, supposedly. However, he took a visit the other week to South Carolina. Now, obviously, South Carolina have a lot of 5-star edges move through those ranks over the years. They've got one there at the moment, Dylan Stewart, absolutely unbelievable. But he went down there for a visit, and Mike Locksley, the Maryland head coach, has got himself in a bit of bother here, because he was quite surprised that this visit took place. And he went on to a local Maryland radio show during the week, and he made some insinuations about this trip. In his words, he said, "In my opinion, those guys, they get paid to go take those trips now. Why would I be mad for Zion to make 5 to 10 grand to go down to South Carolina? He's been one of those guys that's been really loyal to the area. He's been loyal to me and the program that we've created." However, in saying that, he's committed to the program, he has also made an accusation against South Carolina. Now, a player can take an official visit to a school. Programs can pay for your travel, your lodging, and other perks throughout the visit. It's part of the whole recruiting process. But schools cannot directly pay players for the sake of taking a visit. That is a recruiting violation. However, the NCAA also prohibits coaches from publicly commenting on student athletes before they've signed a letter of intent with that coach's school. So Mike Locksley cannot say Zion Ely by name because he's not their recruit yet, and he cannot act like he's their recruit. And in doing so, he's committed a recruiting violation, and this has opened up the possibility that now Maryland are going to be shut out from his recruiting process because it is one of the penalties that can be handed down. Now, for those who don't know, many years ago, back in 2017, Ohio State were recruiting Micah Parsons, and he was one of the favourites to go to that program. But Ohio State back then, they self-reported themselves for a recruiting violation involving Micah Parsons, which is the same case with Zion Ely here, and the punishment handed out with him, they had to stop recruiting him altogether. That was his punishment. They were no longer allowed to pursue him as a player. So instead of going to Ohio State, he eventually ended up at Penn State. Now, if Locksley is found to have violated rules regarding Zion Ely here, they may be shut out of his recruiting process. And I mean, that's crazy, Ryan. This is one of the biggest comets in Maryland history. The 5-star I know they've got 2 good edges there this year, but he's the guy who's going to take you above and beyond. And your head coach has just come out and committed one of the most basic recruiting violations ever, which may lose him altogether. Like, there are 135 other schools in the country who will take him if he's on the market, and it's a stupid judgment call by their head coach if he gets done for this.
Yeah, because all they had to do was not name him. Like you say, you can kind of put it out there about teams luring players with this. Well, can't imagine South Carolina are too impressed either that he's basically accused them of like bribery.
Yeah.
That's also probably a big no-no, like making an accusation like that. But he should know better. His job's under already quite tenuous strain because he's new to the role. Like I say, taking over a program that's been struggling, so he's not exactly got bedded feet there right now. So if he was to lose that accusation, it could make his position somewhat untenable. And obviously, like I say, the kid can still go to school, but if he can't play football because they don't let him register, he's not going to go to school, is he? Like I say, he may be forced to go elsewhere purely because, like I say, he can't walk onto the field. Like I say, maybe he don't want to go there just to study. So very foolish of him to do that. Like I say, and lose a kid that's hometown as well.
It is. That's one of the biggest recruits they've ever had, and he is on a knife edge there. So if he loses that, the odds are he would get fired, I reckon, because that is huge. But yeah, Zion Ely and Maryland maybe not happening there. And then in terms of the third member who is above Keyshawn Henderson at number 3, Jackson Cantwell, the humongous offensive tackle, who's going to the Miami Hurricanes. He is 6'8", 315 pounds. He is in high school.
He's about 17.
He is 6'8" and 315 pounds. But he registered a very special mark this week on October 2nd, so 3 days ago. Do you want to know what mark he registered, right? In high school, he is now registered is over his 400th pancake block in college. This is not just a block, this is a pancake block where you literally pancake someone and destroy them. In high school alone, he has over 400 pancake blocks. This guy is coming to college football next year, basically NFL sized already. He's going to go to the Canes, take that left tackle spot day one and play there from day one and probably be ready for the NFL in 18 months time. Like, the dude is absolutely freakish. He's gonna be, if his college career goes the way it should do, like, he's got number 1 pick written all over him, but 400 pancake blocks in school alone is incredible.
I love that someone counts them like as an official stat. Someone spent his whole career counting them. It's kind of crazy to think he's not the number 1 recruit. Because it's not rare you get kids, like, say, what are they feeding him? What's he doing? Like, the guy is working out like a bodybuilder at like 16, 17 years old. Got the diet, the tradition, the practice, the play, everything. Like, for me, he'd been the number 1 player in the nation by far. Every single team in the FBS has probably made an offer to him. Like I say, the Hurricanes, like I say, right now, their offensive line looking good. Like I say, it's about to send some more guys to the NFL. There's recent guys as well that they've had, so that'd be huge to get him locked down, especially, like I say, with them position going forward. So yeah, they need to do everything in their can now to see out the season strong to make sure he signs that letter of intent.
Yeah, I can't remember what they said his future NIL deal's going to be, but it's as big as him at 6'8". But yeah, Jackson Cantwell, the number 3 recruit going into next year, is 400 pancake blocks in high school. If you like seeing offensive linemen murder defensive linemen,
Miami's doing well because
him.
They just took the 4-star Cyclone kid, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
Nelan Paris.
Yeah, they did. Their high school class is looking very good. Like, the Canes have produced a lot of their own players. Bain is their own. Messer Durr on the other side is their own. Mark Fletcher, the running back, is their own. Mawagoa's their own. Like, they're turning these high school kids and they're turning them into legitimate NFL prospects. They're one of the better pipelines in recent years. Miami are. Cristobal has done a tremendous job with that. But
it's like say where they are done it, because they've got IMG and they got St. Thomas Aquinas. Like, they got some big schools down, like say Orlando, Miami area.
Yeah, he's from Missouri. Jackson Cantwell is Nixa. But yeah, you've got those. And then at number 5, Jared Curtis is ranked there. So those are your top 5 high school recruits. But yeah, just thought there was some...
Vanderbilt, wasn't they? But he said he was just there to watch the game, and everyone got really excited. Like, the Commodores might steal a 5-star quarterback.
Well, apparently Diego Pavia went to watch one of his high school games, so he was returning the favour. But yeah, I don't think... If Vanderbilt flipped Jared Curtis, that would be one of the greatest recruiting stories since Travis Hunter was flipped by Jackson State. That would be absolutely crazy. But yeah, that's just some little tidbits there on the top of the 2026 class. Obviously, a lot is going to change. But yeah, Keyshawn Henderson is your new number one quarterback there, whilst Jackson Cantwell, the number one offensive tackle, is just murdering everybody in his path. Other little bit of news, and just to kind of finish off the Connor Stallions affair, this is wild. Ryan posted this not so long ago.
This has taken a long time, hasn't it? Wow.
It has. So there was a big story going on about whether Connor Stallions was on the Central Michigan line, on the Central Michigan staff during a game against Michigan State. People were saying there were photoshopped pictures of him there, it wasn't really him, etc., and what's gone on. But we've now got the NCAA's ruling on what has happened here, and it is absolutely crazy. So Connor Stallions was on the line during Central Michigan's game against Michigan State, where Connor Stallions was doing recon, obviously on Michigan State, for Michigan. And this is what they've said. So, unbeknownst to Central Michigan, Jake Costner, who's one of their former assistant football coaches, had a pre-existing relationship with Stallions. Costner formulated a plan for Stallions to be present on CMU's sideline during its game against Michigan State to identify and decipher play-calling signals. Outside of typical procedures for item distribution, Costner asked the athletic equipment operations coordinator for coaching-issued gear. He did not provide a reason for this, and then another director of recruiting got involved in this to provide Stallions with official gear and a bench pass access to Stallions, so he wouldn't be detected ahead of kickoff. McGee was unaware of whom the gear was for. He just knew it was for a friend of this Jake Costner, who was an assistant football coach there. Obviously, during the game, Stallions stood in close proximity to McGee and other football staff. But this was not known about by anybody else. Jim McElwain, the head coach, knew nothing about it. This was a proper covert operation with Stallions working with one of his old friends to get on the sideline. But as a result, 4 staff members have been punished, including Jim McElwain, who's got a 2-year show cause, because although he wasn't involved, it was his staff that did it. So he is guilty by association because his staff have been involved in this. But this kind of brings the whole Connor Stallions thing to the end. And this is crazy, Ryan. This is proper covert ops stuff, sly bit of money here and there to certain guys, getting a guy on the bench. Even your head coach doesn't know about it. Like, this was a legitimate operation Stallions had going, and who at Michigan knew about this, we will never know. But a lot of guys at CMU who were not part of this have been punished, which seems unfair. But this is just like some James Bond stuff.
Yeah, it's basically you kind of borrowed him a disguise. CMU Chippewa's merchandise, like say, to try hide him amongst the staff. I mean, if they're going to do it properly, they should have at least put like a beard on him. Like, they should have got him like a mustache or something.
Just like one of them Scottish ginger beards and the tartan hat.
Everyone, they put him in like their own gear, and everyone still saw him. They should have put him in a proper disguise. If they'd put him in a proper disguise, they'd have completely gotten away with that, I reckon. If they'd put a bit of like sticky fur on him, yeah, it's bad though. I mean, you don't know who to trust these days, do you? Can't trust your own staff to, like say, not take backhanders to smuggle, just straight up sign stealing and filming players onto a sideline. Like, I feel sorry for CMU for being punished for those that were not directly involved or weren't aware of it.
No, it's no players.
Those punished and Connor Stallions, you'll never see them ever again now on a sideline. They'll never be hired by anyone ever again.
No, and poor Jim McElwain now has 2 years that he can't coach for. The first year he's not allowed to coach at all for the show cause order. I think the second year of the show cause he's banned for 30% of the season, I believe. So he'd technically miss the non-con slate and maybe a game or two of wherever he's at. But it's important to know he had nothing to do with it. His staff snuck Connor Stallions onto the sideline in official CMU gear and did that. So crazy stuff there. And Brent's in the building. Wow, we're talking about Michigan related stuff here. And
All
Brent's
that
here.
just to beat Michigan State.
I know. Why Michigan? Like, do Ohio State or something, right? Do some.
It don't make sense, does it, going to that much effort to beat a team that you'd have beaten anyway?
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah. It's over, I think, now. This whole Connor Stallions affair is done. Central Michigan have been punished. 4 of their ex-members of staff have, should we say.
They should
The
have
school
waited
itself.
to do that Netflix show. They should have waited till all this happened and then made the Netflix show.
Yeah.
And then they should have interviewed the guy that snuck him on, like, say, like, you can act his voice like a shadow. I'd love to hear from him.
It sounds like a skit they do on The Office or something like that. Just like trying to sneak someone into a rival's office wearing a weird beard and stuff like that to try and get intel from the inside. It is an office skit, basically. Brent goes, perfect timing, I see. Connor Stallions, please go away and stay away. Can't believe podcasts are still putting on live SMH. Only cause, Brent, as we've mentioned, Central Michigan have been punished now. I'm not bringing Connor Stallions up himself, but 4 members of Central Michigan's ex-staff have been punished for putting him on the sideline. So we're not mentioning him per se, it's more what the Central Michigan staff did this time. But we will not mention it anymore going forward now, I promise you that. Right, let's move on. And I think that is most of the news that we wanted to get through today. Don't think there was anything. Oh no, there was one more, and Ryan did post this. Down in the FCS, a big record was broken this weekend. The previous FCS record for most tackles in a college football career was made by Boomer Grigsby with 550. But that record fell, and there is a new leader, James Conway of Fordham, the linebacker there. A new FCS record for total tackles ever, and this is still going to go up while ever he's healthy this year.
5 games left, yeah.
555 tackles. Now, assuming you can go at 10 a game, roughly, probably going to end up over 600 at this point, right? But what an insane amount in college football. 550 tackles for James Conway at Fordham.
That's a lot of punishment. I said that is... Yeah. I don't see the pros look like that. Because like I said, he's just been battered. Like I said, the fact is he's basically played every possible snap he could. You have to physically to accrue that many tackles. Mitchell missed no game time at all for Fordham throughout the years. So yeah, he deserves that an accolade. And it's one that hopefully will stand a long time. Like I say, it's not one that is very readily beaten.
Yeah, absolutely. But well done to James Conway there. Yes, Brent, Central Michigan, one of their staff members snuck Connor Stallions onto the sideline without the head coach knowing. That is the be-all and end-all of it. But yeah, go back and listen to that. It's a whole fun thing. It's James Bond spy-esque. Right, let's move on. And we're going to break down now into week 9. And I just need to get my little bits up here for where we're at. But obviously, you're in the title of the show. You get talked about first. This week, the title of the show was The Bayou Bye-Bye, signalling the end of Brian Kelly's reign in Louisiana as head coach of the LSU Tigers. And why was that? Because they came up against they came up against a must-win affair against the Texas A&M Aggies at home. We did a live stream for that, so thanks to everyone who joined in for it. And for 3/4 of this game, it was a fascinating affair. One of the best games I've seen in an absolute age, before eventually one team managed to break open the seal and blow this one to pieces, resulting in an empty Death Valley. I think we renamed it the Valley of Deathly Silence, not Death Valley itself. But Texas A&M, one of the last undefeated teams in the country, they were narrow 1.5 point favourites for this. But when we thought last week maybe A&M always have a loss in them and they can never go the full distance, would this be the one where they found out? And it turns out they were not ready to lose that record just yet. And, as I say, a game that just went backwards and forwards. Texas A&M started it off. Marcel Reed had a 41-yard rushing touchdown after 5 minutes. The opening drive of Texas A&M's game, they'd been forced to... LSU had the ball first, but they'd been forced to punt. But LSU hit right back, 74-yard drive that went 8 plays, 4.5 minutes. And Trey Des Green, the big tight end, he had a wonderful high point catch in the end zone, just completely mossed 2 Tamu defenders who were trying to tackle him, but he's like 6'7", something stupid like that. And Nussmeier had hit him on back-to-back receptions to get them in there. But then Tamu responded in kind. They had a grueling 10-play, 75-yard drive of their own, which went nearly 5 minutes and ended with Marcel Reed finding one of his star receivers, Casey Concepcion, formerly of NC State. He had a 15-yard touchdown pass, so to put Texas A&M 14-7 up, and they forced a second punt from LSU. Both LSU's drives to that point ended by big sacks from Cassius Howell, the star Texas A&M edge, who had a fantastic first half in this game. And just you're thinking, Texas A&M have the ball, they're 14-7 up, where's this going to go wrong? They went 3 and out. Only trouble was they had a problem with their snap when they were trying to punt the thing and recorded a safety. LSU safetied them. So it went to 14-9, and then after that, A&M threw an interception, so they had a great 7-play, 72-yard drive, but then they got all the way down into LSU territory, and it was the star safety for LSU, the big transfer over from Houston, AJ Halsey, who had the end zone interception to turn it over. And again, you're thinking, Texas A&M making a lot of mistakes here, and LSU punished them. 8-play, 75-yard drive that ended with young Harlem Berry, the true freshman, who got his first ever start in college football in front of Caden Durham, who was healthy, which was odd, but he had a tremendous game. Young Harlem Berry did. Got his first touchdown as a starter, his second on the year, which put LSU 15-14 up to the good. And then a second interception was thrown by A&M, and this time it was Harold Perkins who got the interception, but it was because of the star corner, Mansour Delane, who came on a corner blitz off the edge. He batted a pass up into the air, and Harold Perkins intercepted it. I believe that's his first pick of his career. Could be wrong. He's been very quiet, but anywho, they were able to turn him over, and they're able to drive down the field to get a field goal just before the half. So LSU, from being 14-7 down, went into the half 18-14 up, and you wondered, was this going to be the end for Texas A&M? Because again, they seem to melt down whenever it really matters, but it didn't. They responded with a touchdown drive off the start of the half. 9-play, 56-yard drive. Perfect drive for them. Ended up with Marcel Reed running it in from 5 yards for the touchdown. LSU notoriously have massive issues with their rushing quarterback defense. They just can't do it whatsoever. It's always been a big problem for them, and here the game really blew open. LSU went 3 and out, 3 plays for -4 yards as Tamu's defense were all over them. The punt was sent downfield by Grant Chadwick. It was huge. It went for nearly 60 yards. It went to Casey Concepcion at his own 11-yard line, and he housed the return. 79 yards, just blew LSU's defense open. He didn't get touched on the way through, broke 2 tackles on the way as well, and all of a sudden, just like that, 2 touchdowns in a row for A&M, and then everything turned nasty for LSU. Their next drive, 6 plays, 13 yards, punt, 3 plays, 0 yards, punt, 4 plays, 6 yards, punt. Either side of that, 2 more touchdowns for A&M. Marcel Reed to Jamarian Morrow, a 24-yard dart into the end zone, and then Nate Bierkircher, the tight end who was playing as a fullback set. Took him a few goes to get it in from the LSU one, but he was the one who finished it off, and all of a sudden it's 42-18 to Texas A&M. Then LSU get turned over on downs. A&M have a rare punt, but then get the ball straight back, and then they lead their last touchdown drive. They turn over LSU on downs deep in their own half. And then Jamarian Morrow has an 11-yard touchdown run to make it 49-18 to Texas A&M. LSU get one back with a minute to spare. Michael Van Buren came in because they eventually pulled Garrett Nussmeier, who's quite clearly injured. But Michael Van Buren in his small spell looked really good. He found Kyle Parker from 12 yards for a touchdown. It ends 49-25, and I mean, what a dominant performance. This was a Texas A&M defense, right, that had given up 42 to Arkansas the week before, yet they came into this game, got burnt a few times early on, but Cassius Howell coming up with 2 big drives, stopping sacks, interceptions, turnovers. They just were on him all night long and didn't give him anything. The second half is one of the most dominant performances on all 3 sides of the ball that you're ever going to see. Death Valley was empty after the third quarter. It was dead, and A&M are proving now maybe, just